Hey, what's up guys? It's Yujin here, and on this video I'll be doing a review on ActiveCampaign. So this is my honest feedback on using the platform and why I end up choosing ActiveCampaign as my email automation software of choice over things like HubSpot, MailChimp. So in this video I'll be covering a few points. So the first is some of the things I wish could be improved with ActiveCampaign as it currently is, discuss some of the features of ActiveCampaign, why I love using it, why I continue to suggest it to other business owners to use, how I use ActiveCampaign currently in my businesses, and then do also a brief comparison of ActiveCampaign with some of the competing tools out there. If you're new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and all the links and resources mentioned in this video will be found in the description box below. And so let's jump in. So one of the biggest things I wish could be improved with ActiveCampaign is the reporting inside ActiveCampaign. So this is a major problem and something I've heard a couple other users mention as well when they started using the tool. So unfortunately, reporting isn't clean inside ActiveCampaign. Some of the important information like open rates and click-through rates for emails sent via automations, you have to go into an automation and then go to specific areas to pick it out. Yeah, you can go into the report section in ActiveCampaign, but that usually only gives you all the open rates of an automation. It doesn't break it down specifically. And you can also bring it up for each individual campaign. But again, it's not set out nicely for automations, which is a tool that I use a lot in ActiveCampaign and probably something that's pretty popular since that's like it's ActiveCampaign's rather big strong suit. What you can do is there is a custom reports feature that's available on the enterprise plan. But most users don't really use enterprise plan. They're probably on the Lite, the Plus, and potentially the Pro, but very rarely are people on the enterprise plan. So what we've done to get some reporting is just to utilize things like Google Sheets, Google Data Studio, and then use a bit of manual data entry to get the information in, so then we can kind of have a high level picture of what's going on inside the platform. And unfortunately, this is a pretty common thing amongst email automation tools as well. I find that reporting is generally something that these tools struggle with. The second thing that is probably a struggle initially and probably a struggle for new users is the learning curve. So when you're new to ActiveCampaign, there's a lot of things to get used to. There's so many things you can build. There might be something you're trying to do, but you didn't even know there was a feature for it. So there's so many things to learn. So it does take time to get a handle on everything that's available inside ActiveCampaign. The good thing is there's a really strong support system around ActiveCampaign. So there's some resources you can leverage, such as the online knowledge base. There's a bunch of videos, training inside there. You can reach out to support directly if you send them via live chat or to the email support@activecampaign.com. Usually you get a response back in less than 24 hours for most queries. Another option is the ActiveCampaign Study Hall. So that's a half day or full day training that ActiveCampaign runs in a lot of cities around the world. So what they do is they'll kind of go through what you can do on the platform, give you some ideas. People from the team will be there to kind of help you if you've got any issues. The downside is it is only available in certain cities. You got to check if it's available, and it's also a paid event as well. So you got to buy the ticket to go. So it's not free. Another thing you could leverage to try and get ahead and get better in ActiveCampaign is actually booking in a call with the support team. So they have a customer success team at ActiveCampaign. You can book half an hour calls and you sit down with someone from the team. They'll look at your account, they'll answer your questions, run you through what you can improve, give you some ideas. Maybe it's like, hey, look, you're in the fitness niche, and this is what some other people in the fitness niche are doing with ActiveCampaign. Maybe you can give that a go. So that's something I highly recommend to leverage if you've got the opportunity. So usually most things can be solved with these sessions, unless it's something like a bit more advanced or potentially that needs some coding or something like that. So that might need to get escalated to someone higher on the support team, or potentially it might go to an agency to kind of help you implement that. So now we'll just jump into some of the features, and I'll discuss some of the pricing on ActiveCampaign. This is the pricing page of ActiveCampaign. It's obviously based in Australia. So that's why you see, the Australian pricing. So, if you're in the States, if you're in Canada, Brazil, I'd say they probably change the pricing to your local area. So most people using ActiveCampaign, especially when they're getting started, probably going to be right with the Lite plan. And that gives you access to the big one, which is marketing automation. And, from there, you can kind of scale up as you need to. There is the Plus plan, which is the next tier up. So that gives you the CRM feature. And also if you're in the e-commerce space, if you run a Shopify store or WooCommerce store, it gives you the direct integration with those platforms. So then you can trigger things like abandoned cart sequences and things like that. So that might be the platform that you need to look at if you're in that type of business. And you can see it's pretty affordable, especially on that light plan. So and it doesn't increase that much, even as you get to up to 2,500 contacts. So now we dive into the ActiveCampaign tool itself. We'll just go through some of the apps and integrations that are available on ActiveCampaign. So you can see, some of the popular ones like Facebook, WordPress, Zapier. ActiveCampaign works to directly integrate with those tools. So, it's plenty of popular tools on here that you probably use in your niche. For example, Basecamp. If you're using Basecamp for your project management, then you can just send information to and from ActiveCampaign and Basecamp. Or if you're sending proposals, one of the proposals softwares out there is Better Proposals. We use Proposify in our business. So when someone sends a proposal and they sign it, then we move them on to the next stage of the deal pipeline. Their contact gets updated. So yeah, there's plenty of tools here. And if you go back to the top, one of the big ones was Zapier. If you're not familiar with Zapier, so what it is actually a software connector. So what it does is it sends data from different platforms. So for example, ActiveCampaign, you can send that data. If it doesn't have a direct integration, you can send it through Zapier. You can manipulate the data and then send it to somewhere that you need to. So maybe it's a Google Sheet, maybe it's a Gmail. So you can see on Zapier, there's over 2,000 plus apps that you can connect to. So, where the data can come out from ActiveCampaign, it can go into any of these different tools that you use if you're using it. So next we'll jump into the contact profile section, just to give you a bit of an idea of how that works. So I'll just jump into my own example contacts. So I'm subscribed to a couple emails on my list, obviously just to test the system out and see how it's working. So you can see on my profile here, I've got it's pulled in my information. It's obviously got my email, pulled in my Facebook profile, so then it's pulled my picture in, picked up that I'm in Brisbane in Australia, which I am. And then you've got a bunch of different information down here. So these are all your custom fields. So as data is imported in, people fill out forms, you can link them to go into these custom fields. And then from these custom fields, you can actually send the data and place it in an email. So it can be dynamically updated as time goes on. You can see a lead source from Facebook. These are some of the tags that I have, some of the automations I've been in, and then on the right you can see all the activity that's happened with this particular contact. You can also go, I've got actually a second one as well, a second email, and I've just tested a bunch of different ones, so different stuff, different tags. You can see on the right there's site tracking activated on this contact as well, so that you can see in the last few days I've jumped into my website just to test some things out. All the different automations I'm a part of. A lot of these fields are empty, but then I've booked a test Calendly appointment. So it says booked at 4 p.m. Monday, 31st of July. So that can be used for is that data can now be dynamically updated and put into an email. So then, for example, if I booked an appointment, then the email could say, "Hi, Yujin," because the first name is a unique custom field. So that's dynamically updated. Okay. Your upcoming appointment is on the 31st of July. It's on a Monday at 4 p.m. So then now I can also go, on the 30th of July, then an email gets sent to go as a reminder. Or maybe the reminder goes on the same day. So it's up to you. You can start to use the data that you get to manipulate how you use it. So next we'll jump into the automation section. So this is probably the main power of ActiveCampaign and where I spend majority of my time doing things in ActiveCampaign. So you can see here, this is just a list of all the different automations I have in this account. And what we can do is we just create an automation. And you can see there's a whole bunch of different recipes that are already created by ActiveCampaign or by other users. So you can just leverage those, just to save yourself a bit of time. So, what objective you're trying to do, you can go and open these sections. If you're in e-commerce, you can open that up. But in this case, we'll just go with the start from scratch. So how the automation works is there'll be a trigger, which you need to select when the automation starts. So there's a whole bunch of triggers in here that you can select from. I personally haven't even used all of them to build my automations. So usually the common ones that I use are probably like subscribes to a list, tag gets added, web page is visited. But yeah, I mean, I haven't used them all. So, but in this case, we'll just use subscribe to list as an example. And then from there, you can trigger off different actions. So you can send an email, you can set a wait time. So you can go like, okay, someone enters an automation, you wait a certain period, and then you can segment it to say, okay, if with a condition. So if someone takes an action, so if they visit a website, right? Let's say has visited a certain website, a certain URL, something happened. If they didn't visit the website, then a different action happens. So this is leveraging ActiveCampaign's software tool called site tracking. So what site tracking is, you can get a code like similar to a Facebook pixel or a Google tag, where if someone loads your website, that code is loaded at the same time, and then the code will track it and send the data to ActiveCampaign. So then what happens is, if on here you can go, okay, if they've visited my slash pricing page, then you can have different actions go. So that you can use that to start an automation. You can use it to segment like we're doing now. So if they did visit that page, they get a certain email. So maybe it's like, thanks for visiting my pricing page. If they didn't, then maybe that goes to a different path. So, it's really flexible in how you can use it. And then like if we open up an email, you can do test. So when you start to design an email, they have a whole bunch of different pre-made templates out there, and have some really nice designs and things like that. Personally, I don't really like to use these really heavily designed emails. The reason for that is, typically the more design that's on the email, the more HTML code there is on the email. And what that does is it tends to actually reduce the deliverability of the email, which means that less people open the email. So that's obviously not what you want. You want more people to open email, so then more people can take action. And one of the strengths of ActiveCampaign is actually that they have really good deliverability amongst email automation tools. So if the reason you're using it is for the deliverability, why compromise your deliverability? So typically what I'll do if I'm designing an email is, I don't usually pick most of these. Like I'll probably just pick like the personal email where there's like very little design and coding work, or maybe something like that, the call to action, or I'll just build it from scratch and go from there. So like, for example, let's just use this personal email, right? And then, you could probably get rid of the line. If you wanted to, you can keep your image there. You can update your social links. You can update your details to make it look like, so you want to make the email look like it's coming from you, like it's personal, because that's how people are going to read emails. And also tools like Gmail will recognize that, because they don't want emails really spammy emails coming from companies that have all these images and like design work, because they know they're trying to sell something. Whereas if you get an email that looks personal, like it's coming from a friend, like a colleague, then that's going to go through the filter much, much easier. So, edit or drag and drop. So this whole section here is drag and drop. You can add an image in, you can add a button in, and then you can start to style it, update the link of where it's going. And then there's actions that you can trigger off links as well. So this is, again, ties in back to the automations tool. So like if someone clicks the link and they go to a certain website, then you want to add a tag to say maybe that, they've visited X page. And then later you can use that tag to say like, because they visited that page, send them this email or add them to this custom audience on Facebook. It's really flexible on how you can build what you need to build inside the tool. And then now we'll just go over the CRM feature. So the CRM feature is, as I covered on the pricing section previously, is this available in a second tier plan. So not everyone will use it, not everyone will need it. So I personally prefer to have the CRM all in one place. There are some businesses out there that maybe they got their CRM first, or they prefer to have their CRM as another tool. So what they'll do is they'll use ActiveCampaign as their marketing automation tool to send all the automated emails and sidetrack. And then they'll use something else like HubSpot or CRM as their CRM. And then what they do is they connect the two using a tool like Zapier, so they can send the data across. But this is how my CRM looks like. So there's different stages. You can customize the different stages, depending on what your needs are. This is particularly for me. What you do is you progress the deal from left to right. And then once you get to a certain point, you can mark the deal as won or lost. You can jump into the contact, update information, add notes. So it's pretty flexible on how you want to use it. It's up to you on how you want to utilize the tool. You can add more fields, custom fields. add a deal value. You can update the deal value by automations as well. There's even a win probability. So it depends on how you want to use it. This is how I use the automations tool. I've got a bunch here. Different automations fit into the different stages of the contact's customer journey or life cycle. I have some automations are really basic, where it could be just like one email. There might be some that are much more longer. I'll jump into a couple just so you can kind of see how they look like. Obviously, you can see how flexible and different people set up their automations as. So one kind of more basic automation is one here where people are joining my Facebook group. And how that works is when you're joining a Facebook group, if you've joined one recently, you'll see that usually you get asked a few questions on when you're joining. So one might be like, what's your email? Second one might be like, could be at random depending on what it is. Could be a yes or no question where you have to type yes or no. It could be, where did you find us? And they type that in, whatever the case may be. That data can actually be sent to ActiveCampaign. So how you do is you use a tool called Group Leads that picks up the data from Facebook and then sends it to a Google Sheet. And then from the Google Sheet, you can send that to ActiveCampaign via Zapier. So then that data would trigger this automation to join this list, this automation there. So then what happens is they subscribe to a couple lists, a tag is added, and then an email gets sent. And then, if we jump into the email, you can see that as it loads, you can see, this is just a welcome, and then there's a link, and then that link is tagged. So that's pretty straightforward automation. One email gets sent, not much conditional logic. And then we can jump into a more complex automation. So this is one that a lot of my contacts come from into ActiveCampaign. So we run Facebook ads, Instagram ads, Reddit ads as well to this lead magnet, which is the 21 things every small business can and should automate. And they go from the Facebook ad, they go to a landing page, they fill in their name, they fill in their email, then data is sent from there into ActiveCampaign and then into this automation. So you can see that this one's a little bit more complex. So, what happens is, we'll just run through it step by step. So a tag is added. So to say that they've downloaded the lead magnet, then the next stage is there's a step to add them to a Facebook audience to say they've downloaded the book. So the reason for that is we don't want to keep sending someone ads if they've already downloaded the lead magnet. So then we do that to exclude that audience. Next is I get sent an email to say that a lead's been generated. Then the lead magnet is sent. So we just jump into the email. So you can see, hey, thank you for requesting a copy of the report. And then there's a link here to the report to download. So it's on Google Drive. And at the same time, a tag is added to say that they've clicked the link. So I'll loop into this in a moment. So what that does is actually sends them down different paths based in the automation based on if they didn't or did click the link. So if we go back and go further down into the automation, you can see that the next stage is a wait step. So it's wait till 1 a.m. And then there's a if condition here to say, does the contact have the tag, report clicked? If it does, then it goes to the left. The report goal is triggered. So then this allows us to kind of quickly track what percentage of people are actually opening the report. If they didn't, then it goes no. It goes to the right here. We have a couple of wait conditions. Make sure it's a weekday, so we're not bugging someone on a weekend. Wait for a time condition, and then the report is sent again with the link. So the email is different, but the report is linked to the same place. And then if they click that link, then what happens is then they go back to this goal and then goes down to the next stage. If they don't, then they flow down here, get another reminder. And then if they still don't open the reminder, then a tag is added to say that they didn't open the report. So if they did open the report, then what happens is there's another condition to say, have they booked the time for a consultation call? If they did, then great. They go to the goal and then they leave the automation, and that's it. And then obviously that goal is tracking the percentage and how many people have converted. If they didn't, then it goes down this path. We have a split automation here because we're just testing what works. So what happens is if one path goes to the left, which says, which just sends an email a specific date, and then the path to the right sends an email based on ActiveCampaign's predictive sending feature. So this is a feature available on a higher tier plan, so you won't get this on the light. So we'll jump into another account that I run. So this is actually the first business I started, which is a local cleaning service called SnapClean. So this is the ActiveCampaign account, and you can see that we just got a bunch of different automations in here. So pretty much what we'll do is we'll sort it by activity. So pretty much, there's a whole bunch of automations there just to kind of manage the contact over the customer at different stages of the customer journey. So this is a local business. It's a bit different from my agency business. So, you've got a breakup sequence automation. So what that is based on contact not opening an email for, in this case, 60 days. They get sent an email to be like, hey, you've been on our list. You haven't been interacting with our emails. Are you still interested in getting someone to clean your house? And the same re-engagement campaign also kind of works a similar way. They kind of get sent an email to go, hey, you're still interested? They've got this holiday automation that's might look complex, but essentially what it is throughout the year, there's different holidays and promotions we want to send. So how this works is on the left is recurring customers. So people who are booking regular cleans. And then on the right is people who booked a one-off clean, or they just did a lead and they haven't booked from us. So then they get different emails based on what type of customer, what type of lead they are. So then a customer already, then they kind of just get a bit of a greeting. Or in the email, we might ask, hey, do you have another person that you could think of that might use our services? On the right, then, if they're not a recurring customer, then obviously we're trying to get them to become a recurring customer. And also at the same time, we're still asking them to, if they have booked with us, then they get a little bit referral code. So then that little block shows. I'll open it up so you can see. So the email goes, hey, Happy New Year. Book a clean with $30 discount applied, a little bit of incentive. Then the next part is actually a referral section. So there's a referral code custom field here. So each referral code is unique to each customer. So right now in the system, it shows us just referral code with like the little percentage signs. The customer will see snapclean.com.au/ like a combination of numbers and letters, and then they can copy that and send it to someone else. But you can see there's a little bit of a bubble that's hovering over it, and you can see that will show if contact referral code is greater than 0. So what that means is that if that field is blank, that whole bit doesn't show. But then if the field is not blank, if they have booked a clean, then that block will show. So that's kind of is an example of how, using custom field, and then how using another feature called conditional content, which is showing content based on the contact's actions. So, this pretty much just flows down. There's all these little, there's goals here that are date-based goals. So then contacts are stuck in that goal until a specific date. So then they don't get an email randomly in that time of year about a holiday that's not relevant. And then also at the same time, contacts might join this automation at random times. So then what happens is the goal will take them to the closest goal at that time of year. So if it's the Boxing Day, right, then the next major holiday might be New Year's. So then it takes them to New Year's. But then if it's the middle of October, then the closest might be Halloween. So then it takes them all the way down to here, which is, more than halfway down. So then the goal picks them up there. Then they get the Halloween email. So that's I guess a bit more of a complex automation, but it's there to solve a problem, which is and then that just kind of runs continuously. So if hypothetically a contact is there that's subscribed, and then they just stay in the list for like 2 years, then they just loop up over and over and over again. So there are a couple of things that we need to update that once a year. So obviously Easter changes every year, so you got to update the date. You might need to change a little bit of the content, but otherwise the structure of the automation pretty much works exactly the same. And you've got other automations here, like a recurring client's anniversary. So the date that the contact books their first clean, that's saved as a custom field. So now in 1 year's time, it can be like, hey, happy 1 year being a customer of ours. If someone cancels their service, then there's a bunch of follow-ups to be like, hey, we're sorry that you canceled your service. Is there something we did? How can we improve? Offer them, like, obviously one's an apology. Then there's a condition to check, hey, did they become a recurring client? Did they rebook? If they did, then great, the goal picks it up. If they didn't, then they get more follow-up. So it's like, hey, have a free clean to try and win you back, have a discount, have a bigger discount. And if not, then that's it. Because obviously it's cheaper to try and win back an existing customer than it is to try and reacquire a new customer. And then you've got a season automation. So what that is it works similar to the holiday one, where there's a goal to take them down based on the time of year. So then they get an email, if it's September, then they get spring. If it's winter, they get a different email. There's a one-off post clean. So then if someone books a one-off service, then we want to upsell them to a recurring service. So yeah, that's pretty much a little bit of a background on how, I guess, a different business can use ActiveCampaign for its automations. And this account's only using the light plan. So, all these things, all these complexities, you still don't need to get something, you don't need to use a CRM because, there's no use for it. We just pretty much purely use it for email automation. Yeah, so we just jump in at the left here, going down the menu here. The next section is we've got like a feature called Conversations. So what Conversations is actually a newish feature from ActiveCampaign. It came out last year. So it's a tool, it's ActiveCampaign's website chat tool. So pretty much what you can do is you can get a bit of a code, you can add it to your website, and then there's a little speech bubble that shows up on your website. So you can say like an automated message. And then the idea is you want to start a conversation with someone on your website, and then like an agent or someone from your business can respond back. And then what that does is the data will flow into ActiveCampaign. It's tracked to show that, hey, they spoke to your website, then they opened an email. So it's all into one place. So that's a handy tool if you don't have something in place already. I personally use a different type of chat tool. So my chat tool is a tool where it looks like a chat, but it's actually more just a form. So just asking predetermined questions to kind of get information from a potential lead or customer. Whereas this one is kind of relies on someone manually responding back to messages and kind of giving a tailored service. So yeah, if you're looking for a chat tool, that's potentially something you could use as well. And then another feature is the forms tool that I guess people ask me about occasionally as well. So the forms is something I personally don't use, but I know that other people who are on ActiveCampaign do use the forms. I personally don't like using the forms because I find that the designs look really basic, and there's not much you can do with the design and how you can make it look and how you can make it fit to your website design. So I use actually a plugin called Bloom Forms. So what that involves is I have to connect it to ActiveCampaign via API, and then the data is then sent into the system. And then so the reason why you see so many forms in ActiveCampaign here is because then Bloom links to an actual form, because each of these forms have an ID. So if I hover over blog subscriber, there's a little number at the bottom that says like form/3. So that means the form ID is 3. So then in Bloom, I've got to go, okay, form ID 3, and then that triggers the form to fire. Now, so just do a bit of a brief comparison on some of the other tools out there. So that one is Aweber. So Aweber is another email automation tool. Its email editing is okay. However, the automation features that are available are a bit simplistic and don't have the same level of complexity as ActiveCampaign. I'd say Aweber might be a fit for you if you're just kind of doing more email blasts and less around email automation. Another potential alternative to ActiveCampaign is ConvertKit. So ConvertKit, one of the big advantage of it is users, and I've found it as well, that it has a bit of a less of a learning curve. So it's actually easy to get into. A lot of bloggers and writers seem to love using ConvertKit. However, there's less segmentation on ConvertKit. So, there's not as much you can do to split up how you automate your contacts look on there. And also the biggest feature that's missing on ConvertKit, in my opinion, is goals. So you probably saw previously on this video that I use goals quite a lot to move contacts around and to kind of track how contacts going in automations. So that's kind of a big kind of stumbling block for me if I were to ever go into ConvertKit. And then now here's a bit of a summary on the pricing of on the 3 tools. So obviously pricing for email tools shouldn't be that big of a factor, because hopefully you should be getting a huge ROI from your email anyway. But these are just some of the tool pricing on the 3 tools: ActiveCampaign, Aweber, and ConvertKit. So you can see like they're pretty similar on the starting plans here, and then they all kind of scale up as you go up. So if you're keen to try out ActiveCampaign or any other software tools that I've mentioned in this video, I really appreciate it if you use the links that are found below to try it out. You'll get a free trial of ActiveCampaign or any of the tools I mentioned, and you also help me make more videos like this, so more reviews like this. So let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Are you using an email automation tool? Which ones are you trying out? Let me know. Thank you for watching my video today, and make sure to hit that subscribe button if you like this video, and to get more videos on digital marketing, social media, and entrepreneurship, and more reviews like this. And I hope you have a great day.